Yeah, and we are now live.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Town of Ajax Committee of Adjustments for today, Wednesday, March the 26th, 2025. This meeting of the Committee of Adjustments is being held in person in Council Chambers at Ajax Town Hall and is being also live streamed for public viewing on the internet pursuant to the Committee of Adjustment Terms of Reference and meeting procedures. If we encounter any technical difficulties this evening, we may take a brief recess while they are resolved, and I thank you in advance for your patience, and we will now proceed with the meeting. For those of you joining us in person this evening and wish to speak to an application, please wait for my cue when the particular application comes up on the agenda that you'll see towards my left shoulder. And when you're called upon, if you can just come up, you'll get a chance to introduce yourself and also give a brief description of why you're speaking. So whether it be for the application, against the application, or representing the application. And I'll now like to call this meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. We'd like to begin this meeting by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is situated within the traditional and treaty territories of the Mississaugas. More specifically, the Mississaugas of Scugog Island, First Nation, signatories of the Gunshot Treaty of 1788 and the Williams Treaties of 1923. This land is and will continue to be home to the Indigenous people. Let us acknowledge the mistakes and traumas of the past through authenticity and support truth and reconciliation. Let us engage and celebrate Indigenous communities by being leaders of action and acknowledging the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People and the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's recommendations, and move forward with kindness and respect as a community. Before moving on to the application portion of tonight's meeting, I'd like to confirm whether there are any disclosures of interest from any members of the committee this evening. So seeing none here in person, Bernadette, if you could just unmute and just let us know, or...
No declarations of conflict of interest to declare.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. And then I will now look to see whether there's anybody on the committee that can put forth a motion for adoption of last month's meeting minutes. Ken, I saw you first. Can I get a seconder, Amanda? Is that fair? Okay, perfect. Any discussion on the motion? If not, then I'll look for a vote on the adoption of the minutes from last month's meeting. And the vote has been carried unanimously, so we've now officially adopted the meetings from the February meeting. I'd like to now quickly cover the mandate of the Committee of Adjustments. The Committee of Adjustments derives its jurisdiction and authority from the Planning Act. The committee is responsible for considering applications which seek to authorize the following: minor variances from the provisions of the town zoning bylaw, extensions, enlargements, or variations of legal non-conforming use of any land, building, or structure, permit the use of any land, building, or structure for any purpose that, in the opinion of the committee, conforms with the provisions of the zoning bylaw, where the uses permitted in the zoning bylaw are defined in general terms, consent to sever a new lot from an existing lot, consent to alter the existing boundaries of a particular lot, such as lot additions and lot line adjustments, consent to register rights of way and easements over land, consent to sell, mortgage, charge, or enter into any agreement for more than 21 years for a portion of land, and validation of land title when there has been an error in the description of land. When considering minor variances, the committee is to assess whether the general intent and purpose of both the Town of Ajax official plan and zoning bylaw are maintained. Their proposal is desirable and appropriate for the development and or use of the subject land, building, or structure, and the variance is minor in nature. When considering consents, the committee must ensure proposals conform to the Region of Durham and the Town of Ajax official plans and have regard to the matters outlined under the Planning Act. In all scenarios, the committee must ensure consistency with the in effect provincial policy statements and conformity with the in effect provincial plans. The process for tonight's meeting will be conducted in the following manner. The applicant and or agent will be called upon and will be asked to provide a brief description of the minor variance and or consent application that they have applied for. The committee members may ask questions of the applicant and or agent, after which anyone with a direct interest in the application will be given an opportunity to speak either for or against that particular application. Once a motion is put forward by the committee member, There will, however, be no further input from the applicant or the agent or anyone else that's either speaking for or against the application. After a decision is made, a notice will be sent out and there will be a 20-day appeal period. The decision of the committee may be appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal, or the OLT, by the applicant or a specified person or public body, as outlined in the Planning Act. Please note that at this time, third-party appeals are not permitted. The decision will become final and binding if no appeals are received during that 20-day appeal period. If a building permit is required or any other approvals, they may be filed during the appeal period. However, please note, no permits or approvals will be issued until the appeal period is over and the decision becomes final and binding. A respectful decorum during this evening's proceedings is expected of all present. And I'll now like to take a quick moment to introduce you to the committee members presiding over the procedures this evening. To my furthest right in the red is Ken Elliott. Next to Ken on his left is Amanda Dunn. To my right is Tomas Baca. Online virtually, we have Bernadette Santiago, and I'm the chair of the committee, Wasif Ahmed. To my left, we have town staff with our AV team member, plus Eric Simpson, who's the senior planner and secretary treasurer of the committee, and Henry Stang, who's a planner with the town of Ajax. Now, I'd like to proceed into the minor variance applications portion of tonight's meeting. The first application for tonight's meeting is variance application A825 for 45 Blowers Crescent. And for those of you that are in the room, you'll see this again on the left, over my left shoulder, rather. And can I just find out whether there is somebody here representing this application in attendance today?
Yep, it's David Barnard with Saplis Architects. I'm online.
Okay, perfect. Good evening, David. So David, as you may be able to see on the share screen, the committee has received a report, staff report from the Town of Ajax Planning Department that recommends approval for this particular application based on a few conditions, which I'll read out for everybody's pleasure in a minute. But I just wanted to confirm that you've received this particular report.
Yes, I have.
Okay, and just before moving forward and reading the condition, I'll just quickly check in with town staff to see whether notice was served on this application and whether any responses were received.
Mr. Chair, notice was served and no responses were received.
Okay, appreciate that confirmation. Thank you. And for everybody's benefit, this particular application is seeking a minimum setback from the front lot line of 3 meters and a minimum setback from the south interior lot line of 3 meters, subject to one condition that the subject land variance applies only to the proposed development of the subject lands through the site plan application SP 325, substantially in accordance with the drawings that were submitted with this minor variance application, or this decision shall become null and void. So, Mr. Bernard, you've already mentioned that that you're in acknowledgement of this condition and plan to adhere to it, correct?
Yes.
Okay, amazing. So I'll hand it over to you, sir, if you can perhaps just brief the committee on a little bit about the project itself.
Well, it's a pretty simple project. We're looking to build a 22,000 square foot warehouse, which houses it's going to be the head office for our client. And the front half of the building is actually going to be his offices. So 1/6 of the building is office and the back half is all warehouse. The site was a bit challenging to fit what we needed on it because you needed tractor trailers into the site. So we've squeezed this in, hence why we've had to reduce some of the setbacks to accommodate truck movements and also get the desired square footage that he needed to house his head office. So we work with city staff to get to this sort of shape. It's actually very similar to the medical building across the street. They actually have a 3.5 meter setback. We're proposing a 3 meter setback. They meet the minimum side yard setback, but we need that extra space just for the trucks. So we squeezed it down to 3 meters, which is essentially the building setback if we were a teeny bit shorter. And that's my presentation.
Well done. I'll look to committee members to see if they have any questions. Okay. Bernadette, again, I don't see you here live, so if you've got any questions, just unmute yourself and feel free to jump in, okay?
Will do. And no questions.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Bernard. I'll quickly look to town staff to see whether there's anybody here registered to speak either for or against this application. Okay. All right. I think the precedence across the street, like you mentioned, Mr. Bernard, helps a lot. I appreciate the extra insight in terms of, and I can think the drawing, at least that's on the share screen here in the room, kind of shows the the 18-wheeler trying to back into the loading dock. So I can appreciate you know, the extra space that would have been required. So the staff report is pretty clear. I'm in alignment. So I'll look to see if committee members willing to put a motion. Amanda.
I move that minor variance application A825 be approved, subject to the conditions contained in the Town of Ajax staff report, and the condition, subject to the proposal being minor in nature, desirable for the appropriate development and use in lands, and in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
Okay. Seconder, Ken? Okay, awesome. Any discussion on the motion as presented? Okay, if not, then I'll look for a vote. And the vote has been carried. So, Mr. Bernard, your application this evening has been approved. It'll now be subject to that 20-day appeal period that I mentioned in my monologue at the beginning. And during that time, obviously, you'll be able to continue with any paperwork that needs to happen. It just can't move forward until the appeal period has lapsed.
Thank you so much. We'll apply for a building permit. Thank
All
you.
right, sounds good. You have yourself a good evening. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye now. We'll now move on to item 5B, minor variance application for 61 Rollo Drive. This is application A925 for 61 Rollo Drive as submitted by Lasson Engineering Limited on behalf of Shireen Ramlal. And the application itself is seeking a minimum setback from the rear lot line of 6.6 meters for an unenclosed canopy addition. Do we have somebody here representing this application for 61 Rollo? Good evening. Can I just get you to perhaps come up to the podium? And while you're doing that, I'll just quickly check in with town staff to see whether notice was served on this application and whether any responses were received.
Notice was served and no responses.
Okay, I appreciate the confirmation. Thank you. Can I just get you to go to the other podium, if that's okay? Yeah, I think there's a working mic there.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Good evening. How are you?
Good evening. I'm fine, thank you.
Doing very well. Can I just start with your name?
I am Kenny Bainey. This is Shireen Ramlal, the homeowner.
Okay.
We are here in person, but on the screen we've got Daniel from Lasson Engineering, who actually did the permit process and the drawings. So he's familiar with the project also. It is a very minor variance. It's less than a meter, and it's only a shed in the backyard. I know that staff has recommended that it is approved, so unless, there is a question or somebody against it, we really don't have much to say.
Okay, no, fair enough. And to your point, it is relatively straightforward, and you're right. There's an application, a staff report that we have, as committee members have received that does recommend approval, and it is subject to 3 conditions. And I'll quickly read them out and just make sure that you guys are okay with it as the owners plus any agent as well. That the subject variance applies only to the property municipally known as 61 Rollo Drive, substantially in accordance with the drawings that were submitted with this application, that the owner or applicant maintain the existing drainage on the property, and the owner applicant obtain all necessary building permits from the town. Contravening any one of these conditions will declare and render the decision today null and void. So are you in acknowledgement of these, and you think you can conform to these conditions?
We have. The drainage is as is. And I know staff did visit the site and they saw the drainage is there. And we have already applied for a building permit.
Okay.
So, yeah, we are in compliance with all 3 already.
Okay, good. All right, then in that case, I'll look to see whether there's any questions from the committee members. No? Okay. So I just have a very quick one. So this canopy right now, if we can just go to, thank you, to the second property. This is currently, or this will be attached to the house.
Yes.
Okay. And it is open on, perfect, and it is open on all three sides. Do you currently have any plans to enclose it?
Not right now.
Okay.
No.
And are you, you don't have, obviously, I can see the drawing, but I have to ask the question. Because I do see some electrical in the back, in the bottom left.
Yes,
there.
the things in the boxes there is actually an outdoor kitchen that's going just outside the shed there.
Okay.
Where you see the electrical and a gas line there for the barbecue.
Okay.
So our hope is that we'll be standing in the shed and cooking outside.
I would love to be there. That's awesome. Okay. No, that's great. Eric, can you also confirm that that will then just be part of the building permit process in terms of the gas line?
Yeah, it's nothing related to the variance.
Right. Yeah. So, okay. All right. Seeing no other questions from committee members, then I'll look to see whether there's anybody here to either speak for or against the application, either in person or virtually. Okay, don't see anybody in person. Virtually, staff, I'm assuming there's nobody on? Okay. All right. Well, thank you, sir. I will then look for a motion to see if we can get a motion on A925. Ken?
Thank you.
Variance is minor in nature, desirable for the appropriate development and use of the property, and in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
Okay, motion noted. Thank you. Can I get a seconder? Tomas?
I second the motion, Mr. Chair.
Amazing, thank you. And any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, then I'll look for a vote. Thank you. And the motion has been carried. So you're now approved to move towards your site plan application, et cetera. And like I said at the beginning, you will now be subject to the 20-day appeal period. And during that time, work can start, but the building application process and all that stuff can be filed and the paperwork can kind of get commenced. And
Thank you.
You can connect with town staff after, over the next few days to get more details.
Thank you. One quick question. The sign that we put in the front, can we remove it now or does it stay still?
Until the end of the appeal period.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks
Thank you
very
for
much.
coming in this
Appreciate it.
evening. Good luck with your project. Take care. All right, we'll now move to our third and final application for tonight, which is A1025. This is for 10, and I was kind of struggling with this, whether it's Wraith B or Wraith By Crescent. So either way, this is for A1025, minor variance that is seeking a permission to permit uncovered steps leading to a below-grade entrance within the east interior side yard with a minimum setback of 0.3 meters. Do we have an applicant or agent here? Perfect. Come on in, sir. I'll get you to come on down. And just while you're doing that, I'll check in with town staff to see whether notice was served on this application and whether any responses rather were received.
Mr. Chair, notice was served and no responses were received.
Okay, perfect. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. As you've probably seen with the proceedings in terms of how it kind of works, so I'm going to hand over the floor to you in a minute to kind of maybe tell us a little bit about the project. We do have a staff report that the town staff has put together for our committee members, and it does recommend approval, but there are 6 conditions, and I'm just going to do a quick readout to make sure that you're okay with those, and then I'll hand over the mic to you to tell us about the project. So condition number 1 is that the subject variance applies only to the property municipally known as 10 Wraith B Crescent, substantially in accordance with the drawings that were submitted with this application, that an unobstructed pedestrian path of travel to and from the uncovered steps be maintained at all times on that subject property, that an unobstructed pedestrian path of travel to and from the rear yard be maintained at all times, that an existing utility or utilities be relocated as necessary in consultation with the applicable utilities agencies and the town to a location that does not impede access to or from the uncovered steps. The owner applicant maintain the existing drainage on the property. And finally, that the owner applicant obtain all necessary building permits, and contravening any or showing nonconformance to any of these conditions will render the decision that we make, if approved, null and void. Are you okay with those conditions? Okay, perfect. Now I'll hand it over. If I can just get your name, and I'll get you to tell us a little bit about the project.
Sure. So my name is Jason Copeland. I am the owner of the property. Essentially, it's a below-grade entrance, side entrance. Yeah, it's really what it is. I think the setback is 0.3 meters. And yeah, we're just looking to be able to access the property from the side entrance. Our backyard is already done. It would be a huge inconvenience to alter the backyard.
Yeah, no, makes perfect sense. And you're currently, this is already built, correct?
Yeah, so I had to pay extra for it, but essentially what happened was we started the project downstairs, and we went away for vacation, and our contractor has the blueprints. So when we came back, he already started. So yeah, unfortunately, we have to proceed it in this manner.
Right. Okay. Well, I guess that's the negative side of having work done while you're on vacation, right? So, okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'll hand it over to. I'll check to see if my committee members have any questions on this one. Ken.
I do. Through you, Mr. Chair. I noticed above the door frame, there appears to be, I don't know if it's a light fixture or something. And I also noticed that on the adjacent property, they have at least one opening. It looks like a window somewhere. I don't know if there's any other windows, but what is that?
That light fixture? Yeah, so it's the top part where you see that light fixture. That's basically when you walk in the side, the light turns on, so it's not dark. It's automatic sensor, so again, when you walk there, the light comes on, so it's not a dark area. What is the other part you're referring to as?
The part I was looking at was, is there any shrouding to keep the light from that, the light from that light fixture going into your neighbor's window?
Oh, so I mean, we can put essentially what we want to do as well. We want to put a cover over it, so that way, if it snows, it doesn't fall down there as well. And we actually had one. There, and I believe we had very bad weather, and it came out, so it wasn't done properly. So we have to buy back something and put it there so it covers it. But the light, I don't think that light actually goes into the neighbor's window, because we're actually pretty close, and she's never ever told us anything about it. In fact, she likes the fact that it's there, because when her guests walk by, they have the light back there.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Quick question for town staff. So I see the utilities, the existing gas meter there in the picture. So that's the gas meter that would need to move to another location, which is
That is correct.
impede. Okay. Okay. Because in the picture, it looks like it's just past the stair, the wall there, the retaining wall. Is that?
The steps will have to be redesigned now to have steps going back down to it right now, because as you can see, it's just steps at the one side. So we need on both sides. So by the time you probably add those additional steps, the gas meter is going to be right at the top.
Okay. Okay. And then I noticed that just, again, past that point of the gas meter, it looks like there's a window well as well. That'll have to kind of get adjusted as well, right? Because I'm assuming the stairs or steps may potentially start there.
That's correct. Yeah, that's something we would have to look at through the building permit process.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Final call. Okay. Thank you, sir. I'll then look for a motion. Tomas?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve application A10-25, subject to all staff conditions on the basis that it is minor in nature, desirable for the appropriate development and use of the property, and in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
Okay, thank you, Tomas. Motion noted. Any seconders? Yep, perfect. Thanks, Amanda. And are there any discussions on the motion? Okay, seeing none, then I'll look for a vote. All right, so Mr. Copeland, your application, as you can see, has been unanimously approved here at the committee. Today's meeting, it'll now be subject to that 20-day appeal period I talked about at the beginning, but the good news is, again, that you can start filing the paperwork.
Okay.
Nothing just gets approved until the 20 days have lapsed, so you'll just have a little bit of waiting there. But good luck with your project.
Okay, and you guys will be, the conditions that you mentioned, those are going to be mailed out to us so we can be fully aware of
Absolutely.
them? Okay.
Yeah, so town staff will be in touch with you. We'll give you a full copy of it, and if you haven't received it already, and so that, and they'll actually monitor that as well with the
Okay.
bylaw officers, just as your project is continuing, to make sure that all those conditions are being met.
Okay, all right, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
All right, have a good evening. All right, that concludes the application portion of tonight's meeting. I'll look to item number 6, other business or new business from committee members. Okay, anything from town staff? Okay, seeing none, then I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Ken, I see you first. Okay, so I see a motion for adjournment, and I think seconded by Amanda. I saw that. Any discussion on the motion? If not, then I'll look for a vote. Okay, and the vote has been carried. This meeting is now adjourned at 7:27 p.m. Thank you.